Have you ever looked at the stock market and thought, how can it be this high when everything else seems to be falling apart? You see the headlines saying the market hit another record, the Dow is up, the Nasdaq is soaring, investors are celebrating, and yet you walk outside and nothing feels like a celebration. People are working longer hours just to afford food. Families are drowning in debt. Small businesses are closing one after another, and prices for everything keep rising. It doesn't make sense, does it? How can both things be true at the same time? How can the economy collapse while the market explodes? For generations, people believed that the stock market was a mirror of the real economy. When the market rose, it meant things were good. When it fell, it meant trouble. But that mirror is now broken. What we're looking at today isn't a reflection of economic strength. It's a distortion, a carefully constructed illusion that hides how fragile the real world underneath has become. And trust me, the situation is more dire than you think. So stay until the end to understand it. Leave a like and let's start with something simple. Take one company, like Nvidia. Just a few months ago, this single chip manufacturer reached a valuation of over $4 trillion. $4 trillion. That's more than the entire economy of Japan. More than all the farmland in the United States combined. More than the total value of every company listed on the Swiss stock exchange. And what does Nvidia produce? Microchips. Powerful, yes, but they don't feed anyone. They don't build homes, they don't cure diseases. Yet somehow the market decided this one company is worth more than entire nations. That alone tells you something is deeply wrong. And it's not just Nvidia. The so-called Magnificent Seven, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla and Nvidia, now have a combined value of around $19 trillion. That's more than the economies of Germany, Japan and India combined. 7 companies supposedly worth more than billions of people, producing food, energy, cars and goods across those nations. It's not logic, it's madness. But it's the madness we've come to accept as normal. The question is, how did we get here? To understand that, we have to go back to the roots of the system itself. Decades ago, money was tied to something real, gold. But when that link was cut, money became just paper, and later, just numbers on a screen. After that, every crisis was met with the same answer. Print more money, lower interest rates, and hope for the best. The biggest turning point came after the 2008 financial collapse. The system almost died, and to save it, central banks unleashed a flood of new money through a program called quantitative easing. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Quantitative easing is just the creation of money out of thin air. Trillions of dollars, created with a few clicks and handed to banks, corporations and governments. That money was supposed to stimulate the economy. But it never really reached the people. It went straight to the top, to those who were already rich. Economists even have a name for this phenomenon. It's called the Cantillon effect. It means that the people who receive new money first get richer because they spend it before prices rise. By the time the money trickles down to ordinary people, the cost of living has already gone up. So the rich buy assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, and those prices rise. The middle class and poor, they just see higher prices for food, housing and energy. And that's exactly what has happened over the last 15 years. The top got wealthier than ever, while everyone else felt squeezed, anxious and left behind. The illusion became deeper when interest rates stayed near zero for over a decade. Think about that. Money was practically free. Companies could borrow billions for almost nothing. And what did they do with that money? Did they invest in new factories or pay their workers more or create something new? No, they used it to buy back their own shares. When a company buys its own stock, the number of shares available decreases, which pushes the price higher. It makes the company look richer without actually becoming richer. It's like painting over a cracked wall instead of fixing it. This trick has been repeated again and again. It's the reason stock prices soared even when economies were weak, because companies weren't creating more value. They were just inflating their own prices. And while all this was happening, central banks kept congratulating themselves for stabilising markets, completely unaware that they were building the biggest financial bubble in history. Now look at the result. We have markets that move not because of productivity, but because of liquidity. Prices that rise not because of growth, but because of cheap money. An entire economy that depends not on work, but on speculation. The stock market no longer measures reality. It measures how much faith people still have in the illusion. Even professional investors know it. Surveys show that over 90% of fund managers believe US stocks are overvalued, and yet they keep buying. Why? Because they have no choice. When interest rates are low, when cash earns nothing, when everyone believes the game will continue, they keep playing. It's not rational. It's survival inside a bubble. And this bubble has consequences far beyond finance. It's reshaping society itself. Because asset prices have exploded, the people who own assets have become incredibly rich. And those who don't, they're falling behind faster than ever. Home ownership is now a dream for millions. Young people can't save. Retirements are fragile. And inequality keeps growing like a shadow across every nation. This isn't just a financial issue, it's a social one. The system has turned wealth into something inherited, not earned. It's created a world where the few live in luxury while the many live in uncertainty. And that's not an accident. It's the logical outcome of a system where new money goes first to those who already have it. But there's something even darker happening underneath. The more detached the market becomes from the real economy, the more fragile it gets. Because it's no longer built on production or innovation. It's built on faith. Faith that central banks will always step in, that governments will always print, that nothing will ever break. But faith can vanish in an instant. Just a quick break. I opened a free Telegram community where I teach how to earn money with YouTube and build channels like the one you're watching. If you want to understand how to do it, there's the link below. Back to before. Imagine a sudden shock, a major debt crisis, a war, or a loss of confidence. The entire tower of inflated prices could collapse overnight, wiping out trillions in paper wealth. People would realise that much of what they thought they owned was never real. That's the real danger. The illusion doesn't just hide weakness, it multiplies it. And when it shatters, it does so violently. But maybe the biggest danger isn't the crash itself, it's what happens after. Because when people lose faith, not just in markets, but in money itself, everything unravels. The entire system depends on trust. Trust that your savings mean something, that prices reflect value, that effort leads to reward. Once that trust disappears, no government, no bank, no central planner can bring it back. We're already seeing signs of that erosion. People no longer believe the official stories. They see record stock prices but feel poorer. They hear about GDP growth but can't afford groceries. They see billionaires multiply while their own lives grow harder. That disconnect breeds anger, resentment, and eventually, instability. Because when the market celebrates and the people suffer, the illusion becomes impossible to hide. Think about it. Paper wealth grows, but real wealth doesn't. Numbers on screens rise, but productivity doesn't. The financial world has become detached from the physical one. And in that detachment lies the great financial illusion. A world where numbers replace meaning, where speculation replaces creation, and where greed replaces growth. The irony is that the illusion can't last forever, because at the end of the day, markets are still governed by reality. You can only stretch the truth so far before it snaps back. The laws of economics, like gravity, can be ignored for a while, but never forever. And the higher the system climbs on false foundations, the harder it will fall when that gravity returns. So why is the stock market so high while the economy is collapsing? Because it's no longer a measure of real prosperity. It's a measure of liquidity, speculation, and manipulation. The numbers are inflated by money printing, by debt, by belief, not by productivity, not by value. It's the grandest illusion of our time. But like every illusion, it depends on attention. As long as people believe it, it works. As long as everyone keeps playing the game, it continues. But once people stop believing, once they start asking questions, Once they demand reality instead of numbers, the illusion fades. And when it fades, it will expose how fragile the entire system has been all along. Because no real economy can survive on speculation alone. You can't print true prosperity. You can't create wealth by inflating prices. And you can't build a future on debt and illusion. Real wealth comes from building things, from producing, from innovation that improves life for everyone, not just for shareholders. But the world forgot that. And now we're living in the consequences. A financial dream that feels like a nightmare for everyone outside the bubble. At some point this dream will end. Maybe slowly, through inflation that eats away at wealth. Maybe suddenly, through a crash that exposes the truth. But one way or another, the illusion will break. It always does. When that moment comes, people will realise that all the numbers, the record highs, the valuations, the headlines, were never real. They were reflections of belief, not of value. And when that belief disappears, what's left is the real economy. Struggling, overburdened and gasping for air. That will be the Great Reset. Not the one you hear about in conspiracies, but the real one. The return to truth. Because when the illusion falls, what rises in its place will finally be something real. Smash that subscribe and like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I also want to remind you that if you want to build a YouTube channel, like the one you're watching now, and make money from it, I opened a free Telegram community with the link below. See you there or in the next video. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.